Good morning, everyone. Here, if you're here in the East, it's the morning. Thank you for joining the morning meeting. Last episode of the week. Dan, why dress thusly?
I am appearing with a former or with a colleague on her new show later, taping later today here this morning. So
Okay, so you're all dressed as Brian De Palma would say, dressed to kill. And Sean and I, of course, are wearing merchandise from our sponsors at Fairway and Green. Sean wearing the quarter zip, and I'm
And
wearing.
wait,
multiple.
and
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Set up in the bar.
Yeah. Many of you have already purchased products. We recommend it to you. Go to two-way.com, two-way.tv/fairway. Use the promo code 2way20, get 20% off everything on the site, and lots of great products. Again, ladies sizes coming next week, as well as your ability to get some of our catchphrases like peace, love, and understanding embroidered on the sleeve. Lots of options, morning meeting stuff, two-way stuff. Thank you for your attention to that matter. Big show today, as they say in the television business, but I mean it. We have a lot of topics to get through. Jimmy Kimmel, the Charlie Kirk service this weekend, the President of the United States using his powers, the Kamala Harris book, AOC 28. The list goes on. And of course, since it's Friday, one of our branded segments, I've never understood why people think branded segments sell, but some people seem to like them, are winners and losers of the week and what to look for this weekend. And my winner of the week will astound you. How's that for what they call in the business of
Wow.
DTs? Okay. I've got a great winner of the week. Thank you for being here. If you'd like to be part of the conversation here in the two-way format that we use, not one way, but two-way, please raise your hand. If you're here on the platform, if you're on X or YouTube, don't raise your hand. No smack in the chat. Extend as much peace and love and understanding as you possibly can to all those around you, virtually and physically, and extend the presumption of grace to all. Some of the topics we talk about today, I predict, because I know my co-hosts, could get a little heated. Everybody, now more than ever, let's see if we can't.
That's why I got the quarter
in a
zip.
spirited way. Now, I will tell you, I've applied for some government license for the show because I want the head of the FCC to try to cancel us or get me fired. I want that clash. I want to take it on directly.
No press is bad press. Okay.
Exactly. Somebody just asked me about being sued, and I said they're starting a new thing, and I said nothing better for you than to get sued. You get some lawyer friend of yours to handle the case, and the publicity will be extraordinary. I call my newsletter, for instance, Wide World of News. I've been trying to get ABC to sue me for the entire duration of the thing. I just sue me. But they will not.
Can I opt out of the getting sued?
Yeah, exactly.
I have plenty of. I've had too much time with lawyers the last 8 years. I'm good.
Okay. Anyway, we'll get to you guys before too long. We're going to speed through a bunch of topics, and at this hour, in theory, the President of the United States is on with Mr. Xi, Premier Xi of the Chi-Coms, and perhaps that news of that will break during the show. So stand by for all of that. But first, a word from one of our sponsors, CB Distillery. Nights when you can't sleep, sometimes tossing and turning with no available option. That's where CBD from CB Distillery can make a real difference. It's not just for sleep. They've got solutions that work for exercise, post-exercise pain, even for some people, stress, mood, etc. All of it made with clean ingredients, no fillers, just premium CBD. 2 million people trust their products. You should give it a try. If you're ready for better sleep, less stress, feeling good in your own skin, try the products, CBD products from CB Distillery. Right now, you can save an astounding 25% off the entire purchase you make. Visit CB Distillery and use the promo code. What would you guess the promo code, Dan? I'll give you 3 choices. My name, Mark Evan Halperin. Is it Mark, Evan, or Halperin? What's the promo code?
Mark.
What would you guess? Mark. Use the promo code Mark at cbdistillery.com. Promo code Mark, cbdistillery.com, 25% off. Give it a try today. All right, Jimmy Kimmel. Still not on the air, but still not fired. Bob Iger, one of the greatest executives in American history. I would say he's in the top 25 executives and CEOs in American history, is being cross-pressured like crazy. And whether you think he's doing this out of his sense of justice, or he's seen the light and he doesn't think his late night shows should be liberal, or affiliate pressure, or worries about Donald Trump coming after him, whatever you think his motivation is, he's being cross-pressured. There were protests outside Disney offices, both in New York and LA. I don't know if Dan, Sean, if you saw the video. Just to start off, are those organic protests? Are people organically, really? Who's organically making signs and showing up outside Disney? What kind of people doing that? I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical.
People protest all this stuff.
First, it's outside a Tesla dealership on a beautiful Saturday.
Well, I think those are ginned up, the Tesla protests. I mean, people are so passionate about the First Amendment that they get on some sort of text chain and say, let's make signs and go stand outside Disney. I'm skeptical. I don't know who's doing it, but I'm skeptical.
You're probably right. George Soros has got a lot of money.
I mean, the unions could be like the
maybe
union and stuff like that.
It could be.
Can we pause just for a second and hit the day book just because
I know. Lately, I'm so excited about everything we're talking about. I forgot to do the day book as usual. Thank you for multiple people reminded me, including Sean. Thank you for that. All right, the day book. As I said, the president in theory is on the phone right now with Xi, but probably on WebEx or Zoom or something, not just a phone call. New media,
Microsoft Teams.
New media puller today. Zero Hedge. Washington Post is the print pull. Old, reliable, traditional. Newsmax, secondary TV. The president's got no public events on his schedule, gets his intelligence briefing at 11. Dan, I remember a time when if the president of the United States got their intelligence briefing at 11, they'd be mocked and saying, hey, you got to be up at like 8 a.m. minimum to do that. But this president's doing it at 11 today. And then he's signing unspecified executive orders at 3. Closed press.
Keyword gold at 3 o'clock. Gold.
Okay. Is he opening an IRA with gold?
Second word, card. Oh,
is it finally happening? As you know, I'm fascinated by.
I'm just throwing out 2 random words.
Okay, good to know. You heard it here first. I think I didn't know. Thank you for that. Vice President don't know what he's doing. I will tell you that an enormous focus of the administration, especially the office of the chief of staff and all the 4 deputy chiefs of staff, they're very focused on the logistics of Sunday. An enormous number of administration officials are going to Arizona for the memorial service and getting everybody there and having continuity of government, right? The security is going to be at the level of a State of the Union or Super Bowl. And not everybody can go because you can't have everybody in that one place. But a lot of attention being focused there. Congress is in doing various things, including Hakeem Jeffries' 9:30 press conference. CDC, the Advisory Committee on Immunization meeting again today and making various announcements, some controversial. Mr. Acosta is testifying on Capitol Hill.
The COVID and the Hep B are going to be the big news coming out of that.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with that. Thank you for that. Alex Acosta, who has been relatively unheard from since he presided over the charging decisions in the first Epstein indictment, for which he was convicted. And was he convicted? He wasn't convicted. He pled, right? There was no trial.
Was a deal.
He pled. Yeah, of course, it was a sweetheart deal. There was no trial. Anyway, he presided over that sweetheart deal. He's testifying today in front of House Oversight, and I would expect one or both parties to, I would call it leaking, but give a readout of what he says in that testimony.
You think he takes the fifth at all?
No.
No. Listen, I will tell you, I know Alex. He is a brilliant attorney. You may not agree with everything he says, but this is not a guy who's going to shy away. He's a smart attorney, and he'll be very. I have not discussed this with him. But he is someone of great integrity who will be very open about why certain decisions were made, in my opinion.
All right. Well, everybody's super interested to see what he has to say. All right. Kimmel, not going to be back on the air tonight, I don't think.
Well, no, because Fridays are always pre-taped anyway.
Yeah. I know, but they did consider because as you know, Sean, a good way to bury this would be to do it tonight, and have it on late Friday night and say what he needs to say and hope it tamps down over the weekend. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't think it's likely. Dan, as compared to 24 hours ago, are you more or less inclined to think he'll never be back on?
Same. I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah. So you were like 100 yesterday and 100 today.
Yeah.
Sean,
I mean, 90.
Yeah. Sean,
90%.
more or less likely based on the last 24 hours.
Less likely that it'll be on. 3 quick points. 1, he was going to double down. They'll never allow that. So that's number 1. You cannot allow a guy who's going to double down, go on and ruin your business. Number 2, let's not forget that Jimmy Kimmel got that slot at ABC after Bill Maher was canceled. So that there is a bit of irony in how this slot came to be. And 3, just a pro tip to all of the Jimmy Fallon, Politico, CNN, New York Times, and most of the DC Democrats, before you get on your high horse about the First Amendment and Jimmy Kimmel getting canceled, remember your lack of concern about the First Amendment the last 10 years when the right was being canceled. And at least Another pro tip, admit that what he said was wrong before you actually talk about the First Amendment. What Jimmy Kimmel said was inflammatory, false, inaccurate. And before you start defending the First Amendment, at least admit that what Jimmy Kimmel said was wrong.
I couldn't agree more. Hey, there's a new Washington Post poll. We're going to pull a graphic from it or two. Thank you. Before Dan gets his equal time here, because I don't want to be sued by the FCC.
I'll call Brandon.
I appreciated what you said, Sean, and I hope you and your party would consider your record of, in the past, opposing government interference in the private sector. And what the head of the FCC and the president have said are outrageous. And not only Paul Gigot thinks that, and Brit Hume thinks that, and what's her name? Lives in Alaska. What's the name of the lady who writes
Lisa
the Wall Street Journal?
Murkowski.
No.
Kim
Jerry
Strassel.
Moran.
Kim Strassel. And then any number of Republican officials, and even at least one person who's in a senior job in this administration who I can't name. So, Sean, I'd love you to acknowledge that what's happening is not just something that should be kind of eyes rolled. It should be denounced by people in the Republican Party. Any conservative to say the head of the FCC is making mafioso-like threats against a private company, that's just as much of a hypocrisy.
No, just to be clear,
what you're correctly calling out on the left, right?
Right, and I said it yesterday. I am concerned about us using government tools to enact action. I do think ABC should have done it themselves. They weren't going to do it. So sort of nudging folks to remind them of what the last 10 years have been like for Trump supporters, isn't a bad thing. I think we do need to be careful how far we go. I actually care more about the future, because if we set the precedent that it's okay, I am concerned about that. But I will say that for all these people on their high horse that want to talk about the First Amendment and government intervention, they sure didn't seem to care the last 10 years.
I agree. I cared about it before, but I also care about it now. And it's I don't think it's enough. I say respectfully, and then Dan, as much time as you want.
No, you're making my point.
I don't think it's enough to just say it's unfortunate or I don't like it or ABC should have done it on its own. This is an extraordinary abuse of power. Extraordinary abuse of power, and it should be denounced as such. It doesn't mean you have to denounce them personally. I think the head of the FCC is a fascinating guy, but his own previous statements did not lay the groundwork for threatening a private company over content. If the argument is we shouldn't be licensing these people to do a extended biased presentation, I have no problem with that. Truly, I understand that point of view. But to say one statement from a comedian warrants government threats. But that's what he said, Sean. He didn't say.
No. I get it. But I'm also like, to make it seem like Jimmy Kimmel is a comedian and that was a joke is not what happened.
It's speech, but it's speech. I don't care.
Fine, but again,
he's a comedian.
Like I said, no, he's not. He's not funny.
It's speech.
Well, to you, he's not funny. I mean,
but the bottom line is this: as I've said, and I've been clear, I am concerned about my party, and overall, it's not a party thing. It's not like my side or their side. Philosophically, I don't like the government dictating the private sector what it should and should not be doing.
Well,
it's a hard time getting upset about looking at this and watching Chuck Schumer and these guys all start to cry about the First Amendment.
But you can do both.
For
you
10 years.
You can do both at once. You can condemn them. But what I'm saying is, again, I say respectfully, it's not, you're saying it's troubling or I wouldn't do it or I don't agree. It should be denounced. You should call for them to stop it because it's outrageous what they've done. It really is. Dan.
So the only other point I would add is one underlying part of the FCC chairman's actions, I believe, is that there is a potential acquisition pending between some of these affiliates. And one of the things this administration had talked about precedent setting, Sean, is when you want to make an acquisition, you basically have to come with a substantial political offer to help this specific president. And if that starts to become the standard, that is a very dangerous game. And I think it's totally un-American.
I don't like the precedent that it sets because I worry about what your side will do when you start looking at Second Amendment gun companies and saying, if you don't put a gun lock on everything, if you don't do what we said, you can never own, you can't maintain your first.
I mean, just anything. I mean, you could go around an energy deal, a News Corp deal, anything. So.
Well, no. So like I said, I do, but I have a hard time feeling really bad when I'm listening to Chuck Schumer talk about the First Amendment, which he hasn't given a crap about for 10 years, and when none of these people, by the way, as I said, let's not forget what's getting lost in this discussion. Jimmy Fallon going on last night, Stephen Colbert, and getting all upset. Not one of them commented that, you know what, while I think what Jimmy said was wrong, dot, 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 they have been silent on that. So until they're ready to admit what Jimmy Fallon said wasn't just abhorrent, it was wrong. It was wrong. It was a lie, and it was misinformation. For all these folks in the media who love to talk democracy dying in darkness and misinformation and the big lie, they are allowing this to continue when you talk about the magna.
Well, no, almost every single story out there says what Fallon said was wrong. I mean, that is
disagree.
No, it is
disagree. Now people are saying, "Oh, it wasn't so bad. You can look at it if you squint, and it's not so bad." I disagree, Dan.
Not the commentator, but
even the coverage. No, even the coverage. I disagree.
Okay, I haven't seen that. Okay,
disagree. We're going to go a little bit out of order here because there's a new Washington Post poll. Let's throw that up. It's the president's approval rating on a variety of topics, and he is, as the professional pollsters would say, underwater on every one. The disapproval on tariffs, 64%. Dealing with Russia and Ukraine, 60%. Disapproval on the economy, 59%. I'd say that's pretty good under the circumstances. Israel and Gaza, disapproval, 58. Immigration, 55. Disapproval. Crime, 54% disapproval. Dan, I bet that last one catches your eye.
No, I think you can actually disapprove of him on crime and also approve of him sending stuff in because there's no alternative. I think that's a how versus a what issue.
Yeah. Sean, if you were in the Oval and the president saw these numbers and said, "Sean, are these numbers good?" What would you tell him? Are these good?
First of all, I'd say, why are we looking at this? It's a poll of 2,500 adults. These aren't even registered voters.
He's not up for re-election. Shouldn't he care about all his constituents, not just those who vote?
In some theoretical political science seminar course, sure, but that's not how it works.
Oh, they have to be concerned coming out of summer with these numbers.
No,
there's no way you want, if your goal is to keep the House and prevent subpoenas and Democrats controlling the House.
You can't keep the House. You can't keep the House with these numbers. Yeah, apparently, you both said Fallon when you meant Kimmel. I apologize.
No. I said Fallon because Fallon last night went on and said Jimmy Kimmel's a good guy. I said Fallon intentionally.
Got it. Now I see what you're saying. Okay.
Oh.
All right. Let's see where we're going next. We'll skip over that for a second. You skip over that because we've used a lot of time. Harris's book. So Kamala Harris, I'm great at selling books. It's the thing I'm best at. I don't understand this strategy. It's number 12 on Amazon right now. But I just think this rollout's very bizarre. They basically took the embargo off and let everybody write about the book. A lot of things getting attention from the memoir or from the account of the campaign. One is the Bidens on 4th of July challenged both Kamala Harris and her husband about whether they were loyal. Joe Biden called her right before her debate with Donald Trump and started to talk about himself. She found that a little disconcerting. And then she writes about the sweepstakes. And as we told you yesterday, she said she wanted to pick Pete Buttigieg, but she didn't think America was ready for a black woman and a gay man. She also took a fair number of shots accurately recounting, as I reported at the time, about why her meeting with Governor Shapiro did not go well. I appreciate her confirming my reporting, which was not the reporting that many other people had. Pete Buttigieg did not like Kamala Harris suggesting that America was not ready for a gay man on the ticket. And Adam Wren of Politico, a very good Midwestern-based reporter, got an exclusive interview with Pete Buttigieg, who made his disagreement with his friend Kamala Harris quite clear. Please roll number 109. Let's roll 109 with audio.
You got to be specific.
You got to be specific.
Right.
Let's roll 109 audio and video. Cue. Take 2. 109.
When I read that, I just believe in giving Americans more credit than that. My experience in politics has been.
Well, we're gonna have it, guys, or not? Tell me
They
if we have it.
They technically did do it. So
if we don't have it, I'll summarize it. We heard the money quote there.
Well, I was surprised when I read that. I just believe in giving Americans more credit than that. My experience in politics has been that the way that you earn trust with voters is based mostly on what they think you're going to do for their lives, not on categories. And I wouldn't have run for president if I didn't believe that. You know, I was right here in Indiana when this state turned blue for the first time since LBJ, and it wasn't Bill Clinton who did it. It wasn't John Kerry who did it. That happened in 2008.
The more I think about what she wrote, it's okay. You can dump out. We got the point. The more I think about what she wrote, why would she write provocative things in the book, whether they're true or false? Maybe to get a big book advance or to sell books, or maybe to position herself for 2028. But to the extent she was unpopular in the party, Dan, what she's writing about Shapiro and Buttigieg and Biden and Newsom
and Whitmer,
she's just making enemies, right? Like
and Pritzker.
Yeah, what's the point of making all these enemies with these things?
That's there's she's angering everybody, right? She is pleasing nobody, and you would write a book like this to set yourself up for your next step, which by all accounts she doesn't want to completely leave politics. So how is this book helping you with your next step? Like, I literally see no benefit from what she's doing. Even people I know who really like Kamala Harris and are sympathetic basically are cringing at this. And they're like, she looks weak, she looks whiny. So I just don't know what she is hoping to accomplish and how she thinks this better positions her, even if it's like, let's say she want to go serve on corporate boards or whatever.
Even then,
she looks terrible.
Yeah. Sean, do you just want to let out one of those laughs like this?
Yeah, that was the first thing. Number one, I will say this. I felt like the ball got put on the tee for Buttigieg. And I actually was a little bummed that his response was so muted. I really
perfect.
They're perfect. Very. I agree with Dan. They're close friends. I mean, he made his position clear.
Fair enough.
He was dignified. She went low and he went high.
All right, fine, fair enough. I thought that he could have been a little bit more indignant. It will say it's also funny because in the book she says he's the first person that texted and said, "I don't even have to be asked. I'm on your team." Like, that's the guy. I'll say this: if I were her, the last thing I'd be doing is throwing Pete Buttigieg under the bus because he seems like the kind of guy you want on your team.
Correct.
So, secondly, I got to tell you, the only person she hasn't screwed over is Dougie, and I'm wondering if he's next. Well,
she said he wanted Shapiro.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's so bad.
Dan, what is the highest number the book will get to on the New York Times bestseller list on the hardcover e-book combined? What is the highest number it will get to?
If the DNC has to buy 1 million, it'll get to number one. But five.
Sean.
I made actually great. So everyone on this call knows, everyone else uses book scan. So you sell 1,000 books, that's your rank. And the New York Times says how many books were bought at East Side, whatever you guys have up there, some coffee shop with 5 books. And that counts more. So they have their own hidden formula. I agree with Dan. I think she'll hit 5.
Yeah. As the country's leading expert on selling books will tell you, you can't possibly know because you need to know what else is on sale next week. You can get to number 1 selling very few books. I think based on my knowledge of what's coming, she'll actually be number 1, but she's not going to sell a lot of books because you can be number 1 in a slow week in September selling, 40,000 books. So I think she will get to number. Yeah.
Mark,
some weeks
she did this just to make money and vent.
Just for the money. I don't think she thought it through because as somebody probably told her you've got good stories. And I will say to her credit, I've read the whole book. On the Shapiro thing, for instance, she's now given the best account of what actually happened. The Shapiro people are all up in arms about it, but her account's 100% right based on my sourcing. So I think
I will tell you, by the way, the best thing that can happen, not the best, right up there. If the New York Times pulls one of their little crappy things where she sells like 3,000 books and someone else sold 6,000, but they give her number 1 because of where she sold the books.
No.
God bless them.
That's not how it works. Promise. But you can. The New York Times does if there's buying like by the DNC, they put the double daggers, the little double dagger symbol. When Mitt Romney displaced my book at number 1, I was number 1 for a number of weeks, and then Romney displaces. He had double daggers, and believe me, whenever I see Mitt Romney, I say under my breath, double daggers. So annoying.
You just went like this. You go like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, we're skipping around. Axios has an artfully written piece that says that AOC's people are positioning her to maybe run for Senate or president. Doesn't say she's got any intention of doing both. I continue to believe that the touting of AOC on one end of the spectrum and Scott and Governor Bashir on the other end is a manifestation of the vacuum that exists because no one sees any strong candidates. Supports the Green New Deal, supports eliminating of ICE, can raise a lot of money, but I see almost nothing else there that you would normally have to win a nomination. So, Dan, you previously made her a first-tier candidate, I believe, along with Governor Newsom. Did that item make you think still she's a first-tier candidate?
Yes, and I everything I heard in DC, I still think she is going to do it because if I took AOC's name away and said you have a candidate who is a co-host of a movement, the other host is 82 years old. She has all the energy in the base.
Yeah.
She has a massive volunteer army of people who will run through a brick wall, and she can raise more money in low dollar than anyone else.
All true. All true. All true. Dan, all true. Close your eyes. Close your eyes, Dan. Close your eyes. Name one idea she has that's broadly popular as a policy idea. Go. One idea.
In the base?
No, broadly popular in America.
But you got to win the primary before you go to America.
Well, you do. But as you know, the history of your party is nominating someone who has ideas that are broadly popular. It's not just that she's liberal, Dan. It's that she doesn't have any ideas. She's got no original ideas.
Well, no, hold on a second. You said the Green New Deal.
That's not her idea.
Yeah, but she's associated with it within the party. Like Ed Markey's not going to run.
If the Democratic Party nominates someone who full-throatedly supports the Green New Deal, the Republican Party will win 350 electoral votes.
Right, but Mark, you're talking about who will be the nominee and who will win.
But I'm
not saying she'll be the nominee.
Okay.
I'm not saying she'll be the nominee.
How can you say someone who's not going to be the nominee is a first-tier candidate? It makes no sense to me. Sean Spicer, another.
Of course,
I'll agree. I want to help Dan. She is a first-tier candidate in a grade on the steepest curve in the world kind of landscape.
Stop it. All right.
No, hold on a sec. But Mark, in any Republican primary in the last 25 years, the candidate that the base most loves, you would say starts as a top-tier candidate. They may get mowed down.
I wouldn't. I don't do that. I think that's foolish to tout someone as a top tier candidate who won't be nominated. I think that's foolish.
Gosh, I think the history is super long. Was Bernie Sanders a top tier candidate?
No, and he wasn't the nominee. Although he could have been. He
could
have been. Could have been. Anyway, Bernie's a little more complicated than she is because Bernie actually has some original ideas. In any event, she could be the nominee because there's no strong candidate.
I don't think she could be the nominee.
I'm gonna speed through some things, then we're gonna do winners and losers and what to look for, and then your questions. I'll just say Jeff Zients, one of two of Joe Biden's chiefs of staff, testified on Capitol Hill yesterday behind closed doors and said a version of some of the truth, which is he saw a decline, and the fact that he testified and the people who were most in charge of managing the decline took the fifth. I'm telling you, folks, this is headed to a really bad place for those involved in the attempted cover-up, and I call it an attempted cover-up because it failed.
And he named names about who told him to alter things,
he did, and his testimony and Ron Klain's testimony, someday those are going to be held up side by side. That's all I'll say for now. All right, here we go. We're not going to talk about the Middle East, even though we could. Sean, winner of the week.
Faith. I believe that what Charlie has done more than anything else is give people a sense of faith and purpose. I've heard more people go to church for the first time, go back for the first time, re-examine their relationship with God. And when you can do that 31 years old, that's a huge feat.
Dan, winner of the week.
Charlie Kirk's legacy. I think he is arguably more power. He's more impactful for more people today than he was prior to his death.
Yeah. The winner of the week is the American people. Why, you might ask? Well, because finally, out of the morass of division, lack of unity, lack of consensus, we now have a consensus savior for the United States of America. Showing up in my Google News alerts this morning, please put up number 111, please, was this headline. American thinker, Dan Turrentine must run for president by K.H. Cutts. According to the story, 112A, please. According to the story, I read aloud. Turrentine is the left side to Sean Spicer's right on Mark Halperin's indispensable show, The Morning Meeting. We disagree on most things, but he's an honorable man and a person who obviously loves the country. The first comp that comes to mind is Hubert Humphrey. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you your happy warrior, an independent candidate for the presidency in 2028, our savior, Dan Turrentine. Congratulations, and thank you for your attention to this candidacy.
Is that an AI generator? Is that
No,
real?
it's total real, dude. Go Google it. It's right.
By the
there.
way, can I get on the axe? If you go through with this, I would like to be on the. By the way, Matthew Bartlett, I don't want to be VP. Actually, VP is not bad. The House is amazing.
Yeah, House
but
is
I will
amazing.
say this: I just want to be on the access list. Like, I don't want to have to badge in.
You know, people have had reality shows where they've like run for office and that they've made that into a show. I really do think it's too late for one of us to run for mayor. If I could turn the clock back, I would do that. But Dan, I think we should file for you and you should run. Right? Why not? It's not very much to file.
Why not?
I got divorced once, man. It's not fun.
This will be like a Rose Garden style thing. Like we'll go to the early states. You'll give a few speeches. We'll do some morning meetings. We'll see what kind of crowd. You'll talk about issues. Like I don't see any downside, and the publicity for the show will be phenomenal.
Yes.
All right.
Oh,
And Fairway and Green may sponsor.
Fairway and Green.
All right.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be all over it.
Ask your family if it's okay to have you run as a symbolic campaign. The only thing is, if you run as a Democrat, I want to get you in the debates. If you run as an independent, you won't be in the debate. So let's. I want to discuss whether you're going to run as a Democrat or as an independent.
Okay.
All right.
We got to watch the FEC tripwires, though, guys.
Oh, I know. We're not regulated. We have no licenses yet. Sean, loser of the week.
Hold on. Brendan Carr just texted and he said, lawsuit filed. So my loser of the week is Biden Harris 25. And the reason I combine them, and it's Biden Harris 25, Joe Biden and his legacy in the Biden Library, and Kamala Harris and her legacy in the book combined make them the loser of the week.
Dan, loser of the week.
All right, I'm going to audible Paul because he just took mine, and I won't copy with Kamala Harris. I'll say he was my runner-up. Was Chuck Schumer? He has dug himself in a hole. He is going to get hammered again from all sides. We are going to lose the shutdown debate, and he once again has lost the fight.
Dan. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Your turn. Your turn.
My loser of the week. No, I had something to say about Schumer, but it just gone out of my head. My loser of the week is those Americans like myself who hate hypocrisy, because the right is suddenly championing cancellation, and the left is suddenly opposing people losing their jobs for things they say. It makes me bonkers to see all this hypocrisy. Sean, I respect. I'm not gonna. We're not gonna debate this. Yeah, you're gonna say there's a principal difference between them.
No, and I think there's a difference. There's no both sidesism. I've said it all week. It's not the same. Canceling someone because they supported, made, or condoned a violent act versus digging up something that they said in third grade is not
everyone who the left canceled was canceled for somebody digging something up they said in third grade. Some people were canceled for things they said contemporaneously. I'm not saying they're identical things, but you either believe that people should not lose their jobs for things they say, or you don't.
No. I don't believe that you should lose your job for your beliefs, for being a conservative, for supporting Donald Trump, or for something you said that. There's a difference between that and saying, I think somebody's assassination is acceptable.
And if ABC wants to fire someone for making fun of someone's assassination, they can. But even you don't think that the federal government should.
No, that's fine.
But that's what's happening here. You're saying, great Kimmel. No, it's not great when the government forces.
And if evening entertainers that don't tell the truth on political commentary is the standard for being fired, there will be no hosts on almost every cable.
I also think we're buying into a narrative that somehow Brendan Carr is responsible for all this versus Nexstar, Sinclair, Tenga, and other actual affiliates.
We don't know why Bob Iger did it, as I said earlier, but we know that Carr shouldn't have said what he said regardless. If you want to make what to watch for this weekend related to Phoenix, you've got to be more specific. You can't just watch the ceremony. Sean.
Well, I was going to say it's the first day of early voting here in Virginia, so I was going to look for the vote. But what I am really looking for when it comes to Phoenix is how the Dems respond to it. What did they say coming out of this Sunday, Monday.
Dan.
Well, a twist on that specifically. So Phoenix, how much do the speakers focus on Charlie, what he accomplished, and his legacy that they want to be, and how much turns into railing against the left? And that, I'm curious how the American people respond versus just necessarily the Democratic Party.
Sean, did you send me a stage direction by text that I didn't heed?
Not the first time. I mean,
All right, I'm just seeing it now. That's why I didn't heed it. I would have
it
happily.
doesn't matter.
I would
It doesn't
have
matter.
happily heeded it, but I apologize. All
no,
right,
well,
time for your participation.
Wait, what's yours?
Oh,
Yeah.
Mine's the same as yours, Tim. I apologize. Okay. Same as yours. All right, Mr. Pop. Is that your true last name, Pop?
Yes, it is.
That's an awesome last name. Thank you for being part of Two-Way. Welcome and tell folks where you are, what's on your mind for Sean and Dan.
Okay, I'm nervous now.
Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. I know you're speaking to a future president, and that could be
Can
a
I
little.
just one thought though? If you are nervous, CB Distillery always
Yeah.
has. It'll help you.
Yeah.
Code word Mark.
Yeah.
You don't see what's below here, so.
Yeah. All right then. Don't be nervous. Just tell us where you are. What's on your mind?
I'm Verde Valley, about 17 miles from Sedona,
Yes, sir. Beautiful place.
and I'm a dog rescuer. So there are 23 dogs right here, right now.
Can you pan over and show us that? Take your time.
Okay,
All right. I see a bunch.
Yeah.
All right.
And then we got some dogs down here.
Yeah.
How do you have them so quiet?
Well,
It's early.
It's
Okay.
6:30 a.m.
that could change at any moment. So.
Okay. All right. Tell us what's on your mind.
Oh, there's so much, but Dan, you're wonderful. You're awesome.
Thank you.
You're like the old school Democrats that we could argue with and have a conversation, and not be a bad person.
Thank you.
And it means a lot too to be able to listen to you and be able to actually respond to it rather than react. Because I react when somebody calls me a bad name. I'm not Jesus yet.
Understandably.
So I wanted to share a story. My dad's a liberal. I used to be a liberal. And he cried twice in his life that I saw. And one of them was when John Lennon died. I had come downstairs and he had died. It was that morning. And my dad said, John Lennon died. And I said, who is he? And my dad looked at me and he just started to cry. Like, you don't even know. Like, it meant so much to him, John Lennon. And I, being so young, didn't know who he was. And that's where his pain was. That somebody so important to him, these people didn't know. And I feel that coming up here with Charlie Kirk, there's a lot of people that feel like my dad did. I told my dad this story too, and he got it. That don't understand what it meant to them. And it hurts. It hurts. And anytime somebody dies, it hurts. And I think for the other thing I'd like to say about my side is as Christian, the thing I've been reading love your enemies, love your enemies, love your enemies, love your enemies, love your enemies. Pray for them, pray for them. And I think as Christians, we could do better at that. I mean, how are we different if we're, and so I've been doing that this week. My clients, I have a doggy daycare and liberal clients. And I actually called her up yesterday. It's like, I just love you so much because I'm seeing what the conservatives are saying about her.
Right. Hold, stand by for 1 second. I want to get Dan and Sean to react to what you've said. Really, really eloquent, really lovely. Sean.
I'm fascinated by it, but I will say the one thing I'll tell you, Mark knows Leo Grillo as well from Delta Rescue. I'm not familiar. My California geography sucks. How far are you from like the LA area in Sedona?
I'm 502 miles exactly because my parents live there.
Well, thank you for what you're doing for animals. It's really cool. I think it's a great. I remember I was really young when Lennon was shot, and my next door neighbor was a big Beatles fan, and she was very emotional at the time. And I knew obviously enough Beatles songs, but I didn't fully appreciate how invested some folks were in the music. And it's a great story and analogy to what's happening for different reasons. So thank you for sharing that.
Dan.
Yeah, I think just two things. One, I think MAGA should be commended that mostly the way they are honoring and mourning is with vigils. I mean, it's kind of what you would want the way to remember people and to release your emotion is prayer and gathering, in a peaceful way. I think the second thing is the reason people don't understand is half the country still doesn't understand the Trump movement. They don't want to understand the Trump movement, and therefore they can't understand its leaders, obviously Trump, but they don't know anyone else. It's just all about Trump. And that's a tragedy. And hopefully that Charlie's passing will help some people realize how much the tentacles have spread into society.
I say thank you. Grateful to you for being part of the community and for what you said. Lee, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind.
Good morning, from Amelia Island, Florida.
Beautiful.
Two-time very shy Trump voter. Was living in DC at the time, and then moved down to Florida and was a little louder about Trump the third time. I say that to say I appreciate what Mark and Sean do. The main reason I watch this is because of Dan. I like hearing the other side from an honest broker, and I think he does a great job of that. And I don't know how you feel.
So great you'd be willing to vote for him for president?
Well, where I was going with that is I don't know how you feel about him, but if you partnered up with Harold Ford, I would have to give it a real thought. He's another one that I really respect.
Would you be the Florida chair, or at least for your county, of Republicans for Turrentine?
With Harold, potentially.
All right.
So that's a lot of caveats. Even if we get Harold and we surmount the fact that they both live in New York, even then it's only a maybe. All right. But nonetheless, you like Dan. Good to hear. Tell us what else.
I bet. Do you think Harold may still have registration in Tennessee? No, he almost ran for mayor. That's right. He did. He's registered here. That's right.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Years ago, we thought about it.
Harold has two residences, Manhattan and the Hamptons.
Uptown and downtown.
But I say that the next thing I'm going to try to say as respectfully as possible. I've been thinking about the events with Charlie over the last week, and I think we're looking at it, in my opinion, a little bit differently in that we've talked a lot about toning down the rhetoric, and I don't see any reason that that's going to change based on the past and current. And I'm looking at it from a slanted point of view, but I look at it that we've almost created a broken window society with some of the policies on the left. When you talk about rioting, looting, stealing from Walgreens became acceptable. Violence on the subway, we blamed on mental health, not that this is wrong. And keying people's Teslas and things like that we've started to accept as a society, we pushed further and further down the line to where at one point assassination was way over here and we started creeping closer and closer. And I guess my question would be do you think anybody in the Democrat side is going to have the courage to stand up and say, we need to rethink some of these policies to where society is slowly shifting over to?
Great question, Dan.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, and I put this on social media yesterday, the group chat, the show that I co-host every Thursday. My colleague Emma Jo Morris made the point about kind of how MAGA has mourned Charlie Kirk, which I just said a minute ago in terms of vigils. And I thought we got off the air and I thought to myself, how would Democrats probably have responded if, God forbid, like AOC were shot, right, and killed the way Charlie Kirk was? And I have a really hard time believing that there would not be riots in cities because Democrats, to your point, I think the crime stuff is slightly different here, but the acceptance of acts that of kind of what they would call like of violence. I'll stop humming. it's gotten too far in our party. And I do think that if we're going to win the White House, and you think about kind of where you're going to have to confront the party on some issues, all winning candidates kind of confront their party on some things. That idea that it is acceptable when something bad happens to lash out for a community that feels aggrieved is not okay. And to your point about petty crime and small crime and just kind of turning the other eye and being more sympathetic to the people who commit the crime than society that has to deal with the intimidation and the results, I agree. Again, I think both sides have some issues, but yes, on our side, totally.
Yeah, Lee, it's a fantastic point you're bringing up for two reasons. One, because I do think the crime issue, whether it's the stuff we talk about in the cities and the idea that we've sort of now accepted, it's okay if you steal, it's okay if you vandalize, it's okay if you do the following things, you won't be prosecuted. I mean, I know this sounds like the old man thing that I now apparently do a lot more, but when I was a kid, if someone said to you, "I'm calling the cops," your parents will find out. That was just enough to be like, "Oh my gosh, like you'll have a record." I'd be like, "Okay, like I'm out of here." Not that I ever really did that many bad things, but the difference now is that you can do them with reckless abandon. Like there's no consequences for stealing stuff or for vandalizing stuff or for doing anything. In fact, you're encouraged to do it. Walk into any CVS or Walmart or whatever, Walgreens in a major city, everything's behind glass, and there's a guard that's standing there that will tell you I can't do anything when they loot me, right? To Dan's point, though, there is a difference in the response.
Yep.
These people, look at what Erica Kirk did, calling for tributes to Charlie and how everyone's reacting, candlelight vigils. And not only that, you get a bunch of them where people are showing up doing disgusting, ridiculous things at that same moment, and they're not being called out for it. So I do think there is a big difference in how the two sides handle things and how their leaders handle it. David Dorn, you may not remember his name, he was killed in the wake of George Floyd protecting a friend's pawn shop. There was very little outrage on that. I mean, the idea that we have a problem when one side, I'm sorry, doesn't think that it's a problem to vandalize, to commit violence, if it's in pursuit of what they believe is the greater good. And that is an issue that we have to reconcile with.
Dan, just to clarify, did you say that if someone was equivalent or rough equivalent of Charlie Kirk on the left was killed under similar circumstances, you're confident there'd be rioting? Is that what you said?
I'm not confident, but I've tried to think, how would our party, based on Emma Jo's comments, would our party be as calm and I think, Mark, likely there would be riots potentially. I mean, just look at the history of the last 40 years when stuff like that has happened. I'm not saying one community necessarily, but do I have confidence that we would be as calm and measured? Not leaders. I'm talking about like regular, people, emotions coming out. Yeah, it's not that I think there would be riots, but would I be surprised if there were riots? No, I would not.
Okay. Mark, I will say this. I give Dan a lot of credit for that statement. It's an honest reflection. Were you wondering what he said, or are you questioning the outcome? Because I don't have any doubt. I don't think that
I'm not going to take a position on it right this second, but I do think it's notable Dan said it, and it'll probably go viral on Twitter.
Oh, well, I didn't mean it that way. I said it on X yesterday because Emma Jo said it.
But now it's on the morning meeting.
Yeah, that's a different thing. All right, Lee, thank you. Grateful to you for being part of Two-Way. Hope you'll come back. Martha, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are. Do you unmute? What's on your mind for the gentleman here?
There. Thanks for calling on me. I just popped in. I am in I live in Holland, Michigan. Right there.
Yeah, go blue.
Yeah. My daughter actually goes there. So anyways, I work in higher ed. I have pretty much my whole career. I've worked in private colleges. I'm at a fairly mid-sized state university, and I've worked at a big university. So I actually just wanted to ask about Charlie Kirk's memorial service. I was listening to you guys yesterday and was wondering, hypothetically, to reach across the aisle, who could Charlie Kirk's people ask on the other side of the aisle to make statements at his memorial service if they
great idea.
You mean if they were inclined to have a Democrat speak, who would it be?
Yeah, and who would accept, and who could they trust to
stay on message somewhere?
Probably Arizona's Kirsten Sinema, I would say probably could.
I actually think if Josh Shapiro were asked, he would go. I do, and I think he'd talk about his own experience.
Yeah.
And how it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Like,
Sean?
I don't think he'd go after Trump and stuff. Like, I think he'd know in that environment, you seek common ground, not trying to, spike a football. I think Shapiro would have that discipline.
Yeah, that's a good. Sean?
I respectfully, I'll answer the question, but I hate any questions when we ask what someone who has passed, what someone said to me, what would your father think or something. It's like, I always feel like that's a very difficult spot to put someone in. But out of respect for Martha coming on, and I could see, I would do a duo, Mark Kelly and Gabby Giffords. And they could stand together. The one caution, and Joe Biden did this too often in a wrong way, when you're paying tribute to someone and their legacy and their life, Biden would always make it about himself. And I don't think he meant it. And I say that respectfully because I can't imagine the pain of losing the people that he has in his life. That's the one area that I'll always give Joe Biden a ton of grace for, is that I can't imagine the tragedies that he's had to deal with. But when someone's being comforted, to try to pivot and say, I know what it's like, is always a very dangerous place to go. But it's in Arizona. I think Mark Kelly is a very measured kind of speaker, and he knows he can read a room really well. So I would have a hard time thinking it would be a good idea to begin with. But if I had to give someone that I'd say the two of them get up and say, we in Arizona, and make it about Arizona. And so that's probably where I'd go.
Okay.
Great.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. You guys are my security blanket during the election. I found out about it when you were on Tucker, Mark. So thank you. And this is the one political show I had my husband watch one time, and he said it wasn't that bad. So that's pretty high praise.
We're working on a new sizzle reel, so we might add that. Not so bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say that should be a new slogan on the sleeve.
Well, speaking of that, Martha, I know that we're not just your security blanket, but I'm pleased to announce Fairway and Green has a brand new The Morning Meeting security blanket that you can get at 2a.tv/fairway.
I'll be sure to get it.
Martha, thank you for being part of 2A. Tell your husband we said hi. Thank you. All right. Dr. John, welcome in. Dr. John treats young people in Tennessee. Welcome, doctor. What's on your mind? And I'd like to see you clean shaven every so often.
I'm trying. I do it for you, Mark.
Thanks.
That's why I do it.
Welcome in.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. I was on vacation last week out in Yosemite, so I was a very strange way to be seeing all the reactions to Charlie Kirk's murder. I'm with you on your loser of the week, though, Mark, and I wish I wasn't so pessimistic about the hypocrisy. When my 3-year-old and 6-year-old are fighting, if their excuse is, well, the other person did it first, or hey, no, actually, it wasn't bad when I did it, but it was bad when it doesn't work for 3-year-olds, and it shouldn't work for adults in a national conversation. I think going back from who got fired from which job and which employers are doing this, backing up from the perspective of an independent voter who's in the middle, genuinely not in the middle like on every issue. I'm all over the map on individual issues, but in the sense that I don't feel at home in either party. I think what I look at and see is a Democratic Party who claimed fascism, but was willing to throw away democracy in order to save it for money in 2016 and then for power in 2024. You can't win an argument saying I'm going to take away democracy in order to save it. That was so frustrating. And I'm going to get one side mad at me for that. On the other side, Donald Trump is just not suited to meet this moment. And I say that for a few reasons. Charlie Kirk, agree or disagree with him on any one issue, was clearly a man who lived by principles, deeply held principles, a man of faith who would be willing to die for ideas, as his faith instructed him. No greater love than this than to lay down one's life for their friend. He would have been willing to die for certain principles. And when I saw Donald Trump last night in an interview, and I think it was Martha McCallum, or somebody asked him, Charlie Kirk said that there was no such thing as hate speech. And Donald Trump's response was, well, he might think differently now. Or Donald Trump saying that the people in the restaurant who protested him should be put in jail. That was a interaction, a direct quote with a reporter. Or J.D. Vance going from being aghast at the concept of, making light of an innocent person losing their life to saying, I don't recommend going fishing off of Venezuela right now. It's this just diminution of the value of human life, and the hypocrisy that it's just so grating and it's hopeless. And when you have hopelessness and income inequality and tribalism, you get violence, and usually in the form of fascism or socialism. And I just am so tired of it. We need a completely different way of viewing this than the other side did it too, because we need it to be completely different.
Doctor, thank you. We're running up against the clock.
I'm sorry.
And that's okay. No, all beautiful. Sean and then Dan.
Well, first, I would just like to say, at some point, John, I'd love you to come back and talk about how you think. I've heard a lot of young people talk about how they're wrestling with the impact of this, and I'd love to get your take on how kids. I mean, I think it's very scary for kids, especially for college kids who are wondering about their safety on the campus. So at some point, I'd love to hear you back. Look, I agree about language. We've got to be careful about it, and sometimes, hopefully, these moments make us reflect a little bit, hopefully, about how extreme some of the language is. I will say that for a lot of people, the president in particular, it's a little personal when you get shot at, and then someone tries to do it again a few weeks later. Again, I think for a lot of people, this is a very personal matter for the vice president. Obviously, Charlie was a close friend and obviously very instrumental in his ascent. So I give a little bit of runway to people who are dealing with this in different ways. And I've always told people, when people are grieving or dealing with death, I've seen people sometimes have nervous laughs or whatever. I try not to be critical of how people deal with that kind of stuff, because everyone processes things in a different way at a different timeline. There are days, sometimes 2 months after a death, that you find yourself just crying because you don't know what the hell happened or why. And the immediate aftermath of this, I'm willing to extend a little bit of time to folks to process it. But I agree that overall there needs to be some inflection about the language that we use and how we talk about other human beings and the value of life. For those of us on the side that advocate being pro-life, we've got to think about how we talk about life regardless.
Dan.
John, just great set of points. And I think I wonder, looking forward, if the marketplace is going to start rewarding people who follow what you just said versus what for the last 30 years, it's rewarded the extremes.
I hope so.
Yeah. Doctor, thank you. Very grateful to you.
Thanks, Mark.
Sean, tonight.
Well, this is an awkward pivot. We're going to go from unity and peace in our language to me telling you that tonight Stephen K. Bannon is coming, and Steve doesn't come with anything less than full fire. So we're going to talk about
love and understanding.
Maybe the understanding part. I'm going to ask him about calls for unity. Steve's been very outspoken about some of the forensics evidence and text change. I'm going to ask him for that, and then also Steve Bannon, I'm getting to weigh in on the Fed share.
Okay.
So I've got a lot of questions and only 46 minutes.
All right. Dan, anything you want to tell us about your weekend?
Just going out with my wife tonight.
Okay. Random offense, Ethan Strauss, 2 p.m. today. Mike Pesca returns, host of The Gist, or as I like to call it, The Gist. 2 o'clock today, random offense. And then 2A tonight, final one of the week. West Virginia Republican Congressman Riley Moore, who wants to have Pat Buchanan honored, will be our guest. We'll talk about everything that's going on. But I used to be on TV regularly with Pat. I know he's even now, especially now, maybe a controversial figure for some, but he's a great guy and a great part of American history. And his 1992 and 1996 presidential campaigns provided me with one of the great educations I've had in my career. So we'll talk with Congressman Moore about that. And of course, as always, take your questions of all the day's news, including the latest, of course, on Kimmel and whatever the president ends up doing, and more preps for the weekend in Phoenix. Grateful to you all for being part of Two-Way and the morning meeting. Happy to see you here and get wonderful new people in all week for questions, as well as our returning champions. And the three of us will be back Monday morning, 9 a.m., full coverage of Sunday's ceremonies in Phoenix.
I will tell you, just as a reminder, I'm going live Sunday, so we will cover that on my YouTube channel if anyone wants to be in the chat and join us.
Great. Okay. Thank you all. We'll see you Monday morning. Have a good weekend.